This is a little video on how to pipe the bodice of a dress. Now, as you can see, I have my fabric, I have made my pipes and piping here, and I have my Ten Sisters piping tool. And I am going to use it to trim my piping down to 1/4 of an inch. I might do it about 3/8 of an inch, but my seam allowance is a 1/4, so I probably will go ahead and do it to 1/4. And then I will show you how to snip it, and then I will show you how to apply it to the bodice. Okay, now I have my bodice, the front and the back, put together at the shoulder seams. I've got my piping trimmed down. I've got the little slits in it, as you can see. I just go ahead and do that all the way around it to have it ready to go. And now I'm going to apply it with a glue stick around. I'm going to start here at the back and come up, and I'm going to go around, turn the corner, and go down that side. Now you can see I have glued down. I use my sew line glue stick, and I just sew it down. And when you get to the corner, you cut into the piping, not to the stitching line, but just into it, up to it, and then you turn it, and you have a nice little turn there. And the same thing with this one, wherever I can get it. Okay, here it is. And then you just come down the other side, go all the way around. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I'm going to put it around the armhole, so that then when I sew on my lining, I can show you how to put those together. As you can see, I've got the piping all the way around the armholes now, and the next thing I'll do is cut out my lining, and I'll sew it together, and then I'll put it on top of here and sew it down so you can see what that looks like. I stitched the piping down, and now this, as you can see, this is my lining, and I'm going to go back, and when I sew this, when I put my piping foot on, I tick my needle one tick over to the left, up next to the edge of the piping cord, and you will see on the back stitching line, I go right inside of that stitching line, I flip it over. So I'll show you when I'm done. Here I have my lining pinned to my bodice. Okay, so see I have it pinned here, but I'm going to sew it from this side, and I'm going to sew it right inside this line. I'm going to move the needle over till it's just right inside that stitch, on the inside of that stitch, and that's how I'm going to sew this down to the lining. Okay, here I've sewn my lining to my the front of my garment. So you can see when I said I tick it in, I tick the needle over and move it in just about one space inside this sewing line. And this is I'm sewing from the wrong side. The lining's on the other side, and this is the top side. But I move it in just so you can get inside that. And that's the stitch line for sewing the piping onto the bodice. And so then to sew the lining, I just moved it over one tick and sew inside of it. Okay, now I'll turn it, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Here it is with the pipe. It's been turned. Here's the piping. Comes right around the corner, down the back. Here you go. So now I'm going to turn it over, and then I'm going to show you how I put the armholes together. Okay, just a quick shot of the front. When I start to do the seam under the arm, I go up to the piping, and with some tweezers, I pull out the cording just about as much as my seam width, because I don't want it caught in the seam. So I just pull out that much, and then whoops, let me get my finger to it. Then I just cut that off, and then I straighten this back out, and then I have my seam allowance. And so when you put those two together, it's not bulky under the seam. Okay, here's the seam that's put together. I just trimmed off each side about 1/4 of an inch of the cording out of the piping, and then I put the two seams together with the seams, the piping going the same direction. One side of my piping is a little bit longer than the other, wider than the other one, but as you can see, there's no bulk or anything under the arm, and it comes out really nice. And this is the other side, so it came out a little bit better. So I hope you enjoyed this little video on how to do piping, and if you have any more questions, just let me know.